How many times have you read or heard about one of the team bosses complaining about budget caps this season? It seems like a never-ending issue, but it looks like there might be a resolution in sight. A date has been set for a meeting, a proposal is on the table that should benefit all teams, and the team bosses sound genuinely positive about it. Let's get you up to date on F1 budget caps and how Formula One management are going to solve the problem. Before we start, I want to give a big thanks to Bybit, one of the world's leading crypto exchange platforms, for sponsoring this video. They have an amazing competition going on at the moment, with the winner getting paddock passes to the 2022 Silverstone Grand Prix. To enter, click the referral link in the description below and deposit at least $10 into your new Bybit account before midnight on Wednesday the 29th of June, to be in with a chance to win this once-in-a-lifetime experience. If you win, make sure to send us some photos from race day. The complaints about the new budget cap have been almost constant this season. Teams are restricted to spending $140 million on their team this year, which is a massive reduction from where many teams were 2 years ago. Mercedes, for example, spent almost $500 million in the last season without a budget cap. The cap was brought in for a couple of reasons. First off, the sport needed to be more financially stable. Having a business that costs almost $500 million a year to run is very dangerous. The potential losses are huge. It also puts off prospective new teams from joining the sport. A new team would look at the Mercedes budget and think, wow, we can't compete with that. This brings us to the second reason for the new cap. For the previous 8 years, Mercedes have dominated F1. Max Verstappen may have beaten Lewis Hamilton in the Drivers' Championship in 2021, but the Red Bull team couldn't compete with Mercedes in the Constructors' Championship. The current grid was getting less and less competitive, as the bigger teams had more and more money to spend. New teams looking at joining the sport would have to spend well over $1 billion to even think about being competitive, and it would take years for them to get there. The budget cap's aim was to close up the field, try to create a more balanced grid, which would mean a more exciting viewing experience. For years, you'd been able to predict what the grid was going to look like after qualifying and after the checkered flag. The budget cap aimed to change that. So far, it's been very successful. We do get some shocks in qualifying, especially with the midfield teams. For example, in Montreal, Fernando Alonso managed to qualify on the front row of the grid, which made me shout at my TV in excitement. It will take time for the cap to take effect fully. The top teams have facilities that are far better than the rest of the grid. They have the best staff in the business, and they tend to have the best drivers as well. Of course, these top teams also have the most money, and they're used to spending it. The budget caps only really capped the spending of 6 out of the 10 teams. Mercedes, Ferrari, Red Bull, McLaren, AlphaTauri and Aston Martin have all had to reduce their spending to stay beneath the $140 million cap this year. Haas, Alpine, Alfa Romeo and Williams have budgets that are less than the cap, so they haven't had to change their spending habits at all. My budget limit is my budget, says Alfa Romeo team boss Frederick Vasseur. We're currently in the worst global economic climate since the global market crash of 2008, which was triggered by the American housing market bubble popping. These new budget regulations were agreed on in 2019. Inflation was at a sensible rate, Russia wasn't invading anybody, and a global pandemic would have sounded like a joke. The financial regulations had contingencies for rising inflation rates, but at normal levels. If the average inflation rate in G7 countries in September of the previous year is more than 3%, then the budget cap would increase in line with that. In September 2021, it was at 2.9%. A little high maybe, but nothing to worry about really. Since then though, things have changed. Russia went to war against Ukraine, the financial impact of COVID-19 has taken hold, and as a consequence, price increases have increased dramatically. The US, Canada, Japan, Great Britain, France, Italy and Germany currently have an average inflation rate of 6.2%, way over the 3% allowed in the financial regulations, and a raise in budget cap in 2023 will happen. But that doesn't help this year. Before we talk about what can help them this season, let me remind you of how you can get involved in this season's F1 Championship. Bybit, one of the world's leading cryptocurrency exchanges, have got their hands on Silverstone Grand Prix paddock passes and will be giving it away to one of our lucky viewers. To enter, click the referral link in the description below and deposit at least $10 into your new Bybit account before midnight on Wednesday the 29th of June to be in with a chance to win this once-in-a-lifetime experience. We can't wait to find out if one of you lucky people won. Those 6 teams who are already spending up to the budget cap have been calling for help for months now, and by the sounds of things, it's finally here. The teams were never going to allow an increase in cost cap this season. Alpine team principal Otmar Szafnauer said, "As far as the cost cap goes, we've been against an increase this year. I do realise there have been discussions going on behind the scenes to do something that's sensible. I'm not in favour of increasing the cap, but costs have gone up in a couple of areas that have been mentioned. The freight has increased, and that's very measurable for all teams. So if we come to some compromise on the freight, that's sensible." Well, Otmar, you're in luck. Formula One management have decided to step in and help the teams. The difficult part of this was always going to be finding a solution that suited everyone, not just the top teams. Increasing the budget cap was an easy but inelegant solution and would only have benefited those with money to spend. Whatever happened had to benefit everyone. Asked if there was any progress made towards a solution in Canada, McLaren's Andreas Seidel replied, "There is the next Formula One Commission scheduled for the Austria race weekend. Hopefully, that is the meeting when we'll find a good solution for everyone in the best interest of the sport." In the run-up to that meeting, a proposed solution that will be on the table has been leaked. The F1 rights holder Liberty Media will pay all teams a certain amount in cash to help cover the rising cost of materials and freight. 2 numbers are being considered, either $3 million or 3% of the current cost limit of $140 million, which would be $4.2 million. Liberty Media are currently looking at the proposal and deciding on whether it would work and what the exact numbers would be. This money can then be spent without counting towards the budget cap. This would also benefit the teams that are below the upper limit. The compensation does not come for free though, as the teams will hand over part of their prize money at the end of the year. Imagine it as an advance on their end of season payment. The amount the teams pay would be on a sliding scale. The world champions pay 14.5% of the costs, while the number 10 in the championship only pays 7%. We don't know the exact prize money teams earn, but in previous years it's been around $15 million for last and around $65 million for first. They receive other payments as well as part of the profit share scheme, but in terms of their constructors' standing positions, that's the money on offer. So the winner of the Constructors' Championship would be paying around $9.5 million, and last place would be paying around $1 million. Alpine team boss Otmar Szafnauer seems happy with the plan. "If everyone benefits from it to the same extent, we're in." Haas boss Gunther Steiner says that would be a decent compromise because the teams who don't reach the budget limit will also benefit. Whether the top teams are happy about losing so much money is another question. The $3 million will allow for more development for teams like Red Bull, Ferrari and Mercedes, but it will come at the cost of end-of-season prize money. It is hard to see them being happy with the leaked details, but as a solution, this seems like the best option to get the teams talking and find something that makes everyone happy. The plan is yet to be on the desk of Stefano Domenicali though, and Formula One management is therefore trying to dampen expectations. "We are looking at the proposal. It is our money that is to be distributed there." At this point, everyone is aware that a solution needs to be found to the budget issue. Spiraling costs are a problem for the whole grid, not just the top teams. Giving the teams an advance on their prize money might not be what F1 management want to do, but it might be the only solution all the teams will agree on. We'll have to wait until Austria to find out if the plan goes through, so until then, keep your fingers crossed. If you want to know more about what is going on in F1, click the video on your screen and I'll see you there.